Welcome to the Latino Nation podcast. We're here to celebrate the power, passion, and beauty of our culture. We share amazing Latino stories to entertain and inspire. I'm your host, Carmen Ramirez, marketing exec and badass mom, with my co-host, Eric Osuna, founder of Latin Live. And together with you, we are Latino Nation. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Latino Nation. I am beyond excited for today's podcast because we have none other than Frankie J.
Hey, what's up?
Hey Frankie, my name is Carmen Ramirez. I am an influencer. I think a lot of people might know now, influencer, radio personality. And joining me también, my co-host,
Eric Osuna, the founder of Latin Live.
Eric Osuna. And of course, you guys can see him, Frankie J. We're super excited. Frankie, thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting the invitation. We've already had some amazing guests on the podcast, and it's been funny to get to know the people we admire as Latinos in a different level. And that's the whole idea of this podcast. It's definitely going to be getting to know the soul behind our favorite artists, our movie stars, and connecting, more importantly, letting everybody know how was it for you during that pathway. So let's talk a little bit about what your career is all about. If you don't know Frankie J, te pierdes.
I want to say thank you guys for the opportunity to be able to reach, the masses throughout your platform, and for taking the time to say hello and remembering me. And again, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys, and I'm looking forward to this interview. This is really cool. I love the fact that this is all about inspiring our people and the culture, because this is, I think it's an important factor that a lot of the young kids out there, the younger generation, they need to hear about these kinds of things, because it's an important thing. They need to be uplifted. There's a lot of people out there that still have doubts, because of their origin, because of their background, or because of whatever reason. And I think when they get to hear it from the horse's mouth, it's a confirmation for them, and an affirmation at the same time that anything is possible, whether you put or when you put your heart and your mind into something. Your capabilities are endless. So it's a great thing to be able to do these kinds of podcasts and these kinds of interviews, to uplift our people. So thank you for that.
Amazing.
Yeah,
yes. Thank you for joining us. And our sponsors today are Pacific Workers, the lawyers for injured workers. Make sure you check them out. We're all hard workers here, and sometimes accidents happen. And if you ever need any type of legal assistance in that aspect, you can join them. Let's dive into a little bit about Frankie J. So 21 years of career already. Can you believe it? 21 years. I'm super excited.
That's amazing.
That is beyond amazing. You were, gosh, very young, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. A ver, Francisco Javier Bautista Jr. You can't get more Mexican with.
Can you say that 10 times?
Francisco Javier Bautista Jr. Francisco Javier Bautista Jr. No. You can't get more Mexican with that. It is a tongue twister, but again, that's
But Latinos, all our names are tongue twisters.
Not mine, dude. Mine was
names. They're super long names, because that's just the way, we came from a different kind of breed, I guess, in a way, in a different time frame, in a different time zone, where you had to name the street and your neighbor's last name. And maybe it was, your dad's and then your mom's. It's so much that goes on, so it's a long.
Do you like your real name?
Huh?
Do you like your real name?
Do I like my real? I've never had an issue with it. I've never had a problem with it. Maybe when I was in elementary school, when they would say Francisco, there was a couple of other Franciscos in the classroom. So I always wanted to be different. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be different. I was like, and I remember raising my hand, telling my teacher, "Can you just call me Frankie?"
Oh, wow.
Dude, I love the name. It's classy. It just smooths out the mouth. It's like R&B, Frankie J.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
It just like Come
It's
on.
easy to say, easy to pronounce, although some people have told me that Francisco is sexy. You know, it's like
They're at a different level, dude. No,
Well, you can use that name when you need to, and then when you
right, there you go.
Frankie J.
yeah, like when
That's
your
my
mom.
bedroom name. My bedroom name
No,
is
that's the name you get when you get in trouble and you like you make your mom
Oh,
mad.
yeah, that's
Francisco,
no,
and
that's
then
all the
comes the
names. No,
chancla. And
that's all the names.
Although when I was a kid, you know, and I would get in trouble, my mom would always call me Javier because that's my middle. So Javier,
bringing
whenever
you.
I heard Javier or you know Mendigo or something, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. That's a wrap for me.
Dang, that's crazy. So tell me a little bit. You were born in Tijuana, Mexico, and then you
Yeah.
were brought at 2 years old to San Diego. How was that like for you?
Oh man. So I was about maybe 2.5 years old. This was I'll tell you, you know, I'll give you guys my age. This was in 1979 in
Mhm.
a white Chevy 1977 Impala. So I
So
came
you remember
in,
all those details
I
from
came in with
all back
style.
then.
I came into the United States with style. My uncle, he uh, he was crossing the border. He had brought us over the border, but he was trying to bring us in to do trick or treating here in the United States in San Diego. And believe it or not, you know, when he brought us, you know, and put us in his car, and he said, "We're gonna go trick or treating," you know, in San Diego. We were little kids, you know. What you know, like, okay, cool. We're out, you know. I guess we were all up for it. And obviously, I was 2.5 years old. I didn't know what was, you know.
Do you remember were you wearing something? Were you wearing a
I don't
mask?
really remember exactly what I was wearing. There is a picture
Man,
though,
or Batman?
of everyone that was in the back seat. It was my older brother, older sister. I have a younger, well, there's an uncle of mine that is kind of like a brother because we grew up in the same, you know, age bracket, and and myself.
Mhm.
And there's a picture of us somewhere in the collection of photos of with my family. But I do remember we were wearing, you know, costumes. Everyone was dressed up, you know, with those plastic costumes and plastic masks and stuff like that. So when he was crossing us, you know, over the border, it was like if nothing, you know,
You
like
guys
he
were
didn't need.
wearing masks. What a great
Yeah, he
idea.
didn't need anything. He didn't need anything. He, you know, he told the officer, "Just take
Todos los
my
niños que
kid."
están cruzando ahorita quieren ponerse
Just
una
put a
Yeah,
mask.
máscara.
Put a mask on. No, it's not that easy.
basically, just the officer just
No,
told
we're just
my
kidding.
uncle. He asked my uncle, "What are you bringing, you know, home from Mexico?" And he goes, "Oh, nothing, sir. I'm just bringing my niece and my nephews over to trick or treat, and then I'm bringing them back." We stayed in San Diego after that. We didn't go back. We stayed in the United States,
That's insane.
Wow, that's
and that was how it all kind of went down. So
wow.
that so my childhood, I remember being a very happy kid. A lot of amazing birthdays, a lot of amazing gathers with my family, music everywhere. Christmases were amazing, and you know, I can't complain. My childhood was a blessing. I got to thank my both my mom and my dad for that because they always made sure that we were taken care of as kids. So
Now,
you
when you say
know,
your parents made sure they were that you guys were taken care of, describe what was that like? Making sure that you had the cool
mm,
Jordans. I'm just kidding.
right?
You know, because
Cool,
I think
cool
a
everything.
lot of Latinos
Mhm.
could underestimate the amazingness of growing up with
Mhm,
Latino parents.
mhm.
Well,
So
the amazingness of it was that we were just loved, and we
yes.
were, you know, wanted. We were uh, pampered, but not in the pamper way of like buying us whatever we wanted. We were satisfied with one toy. We were
Mhm.
very poor. My father worked two jobs. My mom uh, didn't work not till you know, I think I was probably about maybe 9 or 10 years old. But my dad was a hard worker. Still, you know, to this day, I remember when he would leave and come back 2 3 days after because he was out traveling doing, you know, picking oranges from trees and doing gardening here and there, doing, whatever the jobs were that he had to do, he always made sure he brought the bread back home. And but as far as children, as far as us as children, we were very content with whatever they would get us. We never really had anything of brands or the big toys or the none of that stuff. But I just remember being happy with whatever our parents would give us.
Frankie J, would they ever like call you, pendejo, or like
Ooh.
just or
You know how
get the
moms-
chancla, get the
Yeah,
chancla,
yeah. When they would get mad at us,
or like a lot of Latinos,
get
the
mad.
belt or the what do you call
when
it?
when we would get in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
my mom was always because she was always by herself when my dad would leave. So, we were a little mischievous, we were a little traviesos here and there, and we would definitely get in trouble. So, yeah, my mom had those harsh words, for us because she was raised, keep in mind, this is
Mhm.
probably early 80s.
Yeah.
And the way that moms would, you know, uh, handle their children in those days was just a very different way of how things are handled today.
Right. They give him that eye look like,
Mm-hmm.
"Está
Yeah, the
Oh,
bien,
look.
no,
más
they give you
rato."
that. Oh, yeah. I mean,
Mm.
el jalón de las orejas,
Ooh, or the
el jalón del pelo, or like you said, la chancla, things of that nature that today it'd probably be a little different to,
pull those off.
yeah, yeah, to resolve.
That's
But thank God for that, though. Thank God for that because it was a necessity for us because we had a lot of energy, when we were kids. And keep in mind, it's my older brother, my older sister, myself, and my younger sister wasn't born yet. She's 5 years younger than me, so I was about 4 or 5 years old. But we definitely got put in our place a lot of times.
That's cool. I mean, I think we've all been through there. Having Latino parents, my story was a bit different. I definitely think my mom wasn't the type that would hit us. She would
Right.
just talking to us, and dude, that would be like, "Mom,
Worse.
mom," and she was like ignoring me, and I'm like, dude, that indifference from my mom was like
Too much.
hurtful, And then I knew she was like upset, and I'm like, oh, so I had to make up for it. Now I have to kiss her butt and everything, and that worked, for most of the time
It
until
worked
she.
well for you.
It did. It did. I did get spanked here and there, but I would really screw up, and that's how I would get spanked.
I think when they start ignoring you, there's a difference that you're like, well, wait a minute. I always get her attention. Why is she ignoring
Mhm.
me now? So you start feeling a different way, and you're like, you start feeling hurt. So maybe, I can see why. I can see why
Mhm.
you're probably saying, "What? Wait a minute, what's going on?" You wanted that attention.
It was different. It was way different, but I think it's really important that you mentioned the way that your mom or the way that you even grew up as a little kid is very important because sometimes as Latinos, we either take the best part of it
Mhm.
or we make the worst of it. And we're like, you
Right.
never liked me, you always hit me. And when you realize that your parents only knew so much better and that they were there to make the best that they could of their children,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you appreciate that now, that takes you to a whole nother level as a grown up now. And it keeps some sort of modales, like family values in your persona. Like
Oh,
that's just.
absolutely.
So there's a lot of statistics behind these numbers, that are really, it's almost like it's endemic in our culture, and that is, kids have trauma.
Right.
Latino kids have trauma that now we find out that sometimes that stuff's passed down from DNA, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you mentioned a lot about how your parents loved you unconditionally, and I think for those people that are listening out there that didn't have that, um, you know, it's difficult, right? It's difficult for
Right.
you to be able to relate to that. Um, but also, I think with what you're saying is that I think what we're all saying is that you got to take the good with the bad. They're doing the best that they can
Mhm.
Yes.
at the time. Like maybe they're going through like 20 times worth trauma than you went through. Who knows? just to get your butt here. You know what I mean? I
Well,
know my parents,
definitely
like,
had struggles. I mean, we had a lot of struggles.
I call my parents heroes. Like, I
Oh,
don't care how you
absolutely.
beat the crap out of me, but you're a hero because
Oh,
what
yeah.
what they did to be able to give us, you know, what we have. And I think for a lot of people that don't necessarily, you know, can't relate to that, I think, you know, it gives you some perspective on both sides.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you had parents that loved you so much, because it's such a nice thing,
Oh,
you know.
absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. And, there are children out there that don't grow up with their parents. There are children out there that grow up with one parent, either their mother or father. And like you said earlier, where we could either take, two roads. We could take the road of remembering the good, or we could take the road of remembering the bad and living with the bad. And I think that as us who are influencers, and people are listening to us, I would tell those kids, the young kids that are probably living that right now, to always take the good, remember the good, and live with the good, because it's what's going to help to move forward, with
Mhm.
lives, and to do it, things in the most positive way. So when you think of the bad, think of the things that might have been done to you that you won't ever repeat to anybody else. That you're not going
Mhm.
to live that route. You're not gonna, como en español se dice, no te vas a dejar por vencido. You're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
going to give up. You're gonna keep moving forward, and I would suggest that to the kids that are listening, to us right now, that to remember the good, to do the good, and to repeat the good, instead of utilizing the bad, and repeating that. If anything, I would say to them, use that as fuel, to do good into the world. And but
I think
we
that's
live
a
in a very,
bombshell.
very hard world. We're living in a very tough world, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to us, up to you, to keep striving. As they say, to roll with the punches, right? Got to grab the bull
Oh,
by the horns and keep going.
I think a lot of our viewers, listeners, needed to hear what you just said
I
right now.
agree.
They needed to hear that, because it is, you know, you dive into that pit of despair, and all you're doing is you hurt yourself with the situation that happened. Then you multiply it times
20, 100.
100,
Yeah.
thousands of times
Yeah,
by keep focusing on it. You're hurting yourself. You know,
absolutely.
choose that road that Frankie J just talked about, and the road starts to blossom.
It starts to get
Oh,
clearer.
you'd be
I mean,
surprised how many doors begin to open when you start putting good things into your mind, and you start doing things in a good way. You start, how do you say, you start conveying that into the world, and it's a reflection, of who you really are, and doors begin to open, and people start to come into your life that you were like, wow, where were you, what's going on, a lot
mhm.
of things begin to happen when you start putting positive things into your mind.
You know, I don't know if you ever read Joe Dispenza. He's the
Mm,
guy that talks about mind body connection, mind heart connection,
right.
and he just says if you can spend 1 hour a day being in gratitude,
Mhm.
said the more you can do, if you could do that the whole day. I'm thankful that I can see. I'm thankful that I can hear. I'm thankful that I have, you know, parents that love me. Whatever, just do that. He says the doors just start to pop open.
Oh, man. I think, as a kid, it's very true, because as a kid, you have an innocent mind, and you don't realize a lot of the things that are happening around you in the world. You got to think like a child. Like,
Mhm.
think of
Like a 5-year-old.
yeah, like a kid that doesn't think of all the craziness that's happening. And look, at
Mhm.
that age, you're having the time of your life. You're having so much fun without realizing all the bogus stuff that's happening in our world.
I have a 20-month-old, and he has he's in ecstasy, just like bouncing on the couch. Like
Right.
he's having the time of his life.
Él
All
no
he's doing is
sabe
just like
nada. He's just enjoying play, eat,
So
poop, and that's
innocent,
it.
you know.
Yeah.
it's so
Such
And that's
beautiful
the
to see
kind
that too.
I think that's the kind of attitude that we need to have in order to accomplish our dreams, our goals. You can't you can't focus. You have to have that tunnel vision. You can't focus on all the bad stuff because there's going to be bad no matter where you go. As long as you have tunnel vision on where you want to, end up in and what you want to do and focus on that, you're going to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And I think that's what helped me. That's what helped me aside from all the crazy stuff that was going on. People were saying, "You're never going to make it. You're Mexican. Why are you singing R&B music? Who's going to like whatever it is that you're doing?" And I didn't pay attention to that. I had tunnel vision. I was
You
like
were
a child.
living in your future,
I
not in your
was like
past.
a child thinking like a kid,
You
thinking,
were living in your future. Yeah,
yeah, I was just focused on where I wanted to go. And
it's amazing.
that's what happened with me. Like I didn't put so much attention to what other people's fears were being reflected,
right
Mhm.
on
on
what
you.
to me. So
I think what happens a lot of times, Frankie J, is people are living in their past.
correct.
They're living in their past. Like what happened in high school? What happened in whatever when I was a little kid? They're living
Right.
back. They're living back there, and they're living that today because they're living. And what you did the opposite. And I think more
Oh,
Latinos need to hear this. Like, stop living in your past. Live in
yeah. Mhm.
your future. What is that future going to look like? You decide.
Yep.
That's a really great that's a
Boom.
really
That's
great
yeah,
way to put it.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm happy that you shared the parts of people were obviously not so fan of a Mexican being an R&B singer
Mhm.
because that was what was already instilled in their mind. Like, what Mexican's going to sing R&B? You did freestyle when you started your career, and I think that for everyone that knows Frankie J, we pretty much know how you started. With Frankie Boy, and then there was a moment in there where you were Cisco, until you found your true identity. But como dices tú, you had that tunnel vision, which allowed you to block out all the negativity,
Right.
some that you didn't even know of. You mentioned people not believing in what you were bringing to the table. What did you do when they came negatively besides
Hmm.
ignoring it? How did you handle that? Because I think that's something that we live in society and we will continue to live on forever,
Yeah.
which is having people hate on you. And how do you or what did you do? Do you have a ritual?
There's so many layers to this. I know there's a ton of layers. And I
Yeah.
want to ask a layer question to this. So just
I think when people start reflecting their fears on you, when people start saying negative things about what it is that you want to accomplish, when people start doubting, when there's so much against you,
Mhm.
that's when you know
I
it,
got something.
it's going to happen. And you have to keep that in mind when it's like, it's something so unique and it's so different. It's never been seen before. It hasn't happened yet. So that's when people start to, doubt it. Like, oh, I don't think that that's ever going to happen. And that's what gave me more motivation to keep going, to keep doing.
That
Because
was
when
your fuel.
when I left the group, when I was a part of the Cumbia Kings. When I left the Cumbia Kings, um, people from the industry were saying, "Well, what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna continue doing, the sound that you were doing while with the group?" And I said, "No, I'm gonna pursue something that I want to do now. I want to do R&B music." What? How are you gonna jump from cumbia to R&B? That's
Mhm.
That's African American. That is the rhythm and blues. No Mexican has ever done that. No Latino has really ever done that. So why would you jump into something where you know you might actually fail in? And I said, because I know I'm not going to. Simple as that. Easy as it is, like as I'm saying it. They're like, well, good luck. And so I said, all right, thank you. And I continued, and I just believed in myself, and then people started hearing the song on the radio, and I teamed up with some very good people and that believed in what I was doing.
Mhm.
So that helped me, accomplish
Yes, surround
dreams.
yourself with people that believe in
Yeah,
you.
and so what I'm sorry, that's my wife calling me.
That's one of the
And
people that
so
surrounds you.
she has no idea I'm doing an interview right now. Um,
Aw.
and so by me doing that, and also, um, that's another thing, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. When you
Mm,
surround
that's
yourself with
beautiful.
people that are like-minded, that are there to see you grow, that are there to see you win, you're gonna win with them, and they're gonna win with you. So I think that was something that was very vital, in a good way, and that was needed to happen in
Mhm.
order for me to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And when the song started playing on the radio, people were like, "Is that? No, that's not. Is that him? No, that's not him. That's not Frankie." You know, and then they started watching the song go up on Billboard, and then
On MTV.
all of a sudden I'm signing to a major label, and they're like, "This kid, no, and the rest is history. You just got to keep going. You got to believe in yourself, and that's what I want to convey to the young generation, man. Just to keep believing in yourself. Nothing good comes without hard work. It's like they say, faith
Mm,
is dead without works, right? You can believe whatever you want to believe, but if you don't work hard at it, it's not going to happen.
it's not gonna happen. Yeah,
And
jinx.
and that's how you got to take it. You just got to go out there and grind and go against the grain. When you don't comply with the world is going to go against you, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So you have to continue, um, staying positive up here. Protect your dome, protect your temple, and
Yeah.
that's how you succeed.
Now you
Mhm.
mentioned a lot of people not believing in you. You mentioned just putting in the work and showing
Mhm.
the difference. How
Yeah,
was it like for you to handle? Because I think a lot of people, they doubt if someone brings them down, they doubt that, say somebody wants to be a music producer, somebody
mhm.
wants to be an artist, a singer, and they have those voices from other people that are like, "You're never gonna make it. You're never gonna
So
make it."
let me just back it up with some
Mm,
data again, because these are all easily things that we can link so people can see these articles.
yeah,
But Latinos are not becoming media moguls. We're not, we're owning maybe a restaurant chain of three, or we're owning maybe a bakery. Maybe they turn into 10. But, are we founding Twitter? Are we founding the next Apple?
mhm,
Um, are we stepping up to that level? Are we being producers? Are we being, right now, we were talking earlier before this podcast about, just the Mexican appropriation that's happening, because we're just, there's a vacuum of, specifically with the Mexican American, population in the U.S., because we're just so underrepresented in terms of that,
right.
all levels, everywhere, board rooms, uh, in front of the camera, behind the camera. And is it because Latinos just don't believe in themselves enough to jump to, because, mijo,
Mm,
pagámosle el colegio y vas a ser un doctor o algo, ¿verdad? You're not going to like go off and produce movies, right? Or
right.
found the next Twitter.
Why? Why would you? You're Latino. Like, no, you're supposed to be a doctor. You're supposed There's just the stigma in our culture, and
Yeah,
not
just
just
thinking,
Mexicanos,
and
I think
also
in general.
thinking
You know,
big,
I
thinking.
feel that we listen too much to people. Like,
Mm.
words are very powerful. Words are very, very powerful. So if you hear somebody say, you know, "Oh, this is impossible to do," "Oh, this could never happen," which goes back to what I was saying earlier. We have to believe, and as they say too, we're greater in numbers. Look how many of us there are already here in the United States, and
Y sabemos trabajar.
80 million.
we have exactly, we're greater in numbers, and we have to learn how to, um, not listen to all those people saying you can't do it. You know, there's so
And that
many,
could be yourself.
there's so many great people out there, so many great Mexicanos and Mexicanas that are powerful, that are, talented and very intelligent, and that are capable of creating
So
Twitter,
let
creating a
Latin
Facebook, creating a.
so Frankie J. So Latin Life's an influencer company, and we have such a tough time convincing Latinos, especially Mexican Americans, to get
Yeah,
on the camera,
right.
to get on a mic. They're too shy. It's
Yeah.
not like we need to rise up,
Support
and
each other.
it's
Yeah.
it's just endemic in our culture. And I think your words right now are just so. I think they're resonating. They're
On a lot of
really a lot
people.
of people.
I
Yes.
agree. And I'm super excited that we're actually having that conversation because one of the things that we need is to kind of talk to people that have done something with their life. Frankie,
Mhm.
you grew up in a normal childhood.
Mhm.
You probably didn't even realize that your career was going to be into music maybe until your teenage years, I want to say,
Right.
when you started to realize like, oh my god, I got a voice. Like I can do so because there has to be times where you doubted your career, you doubted yourself, right? In the
There were
beginning.
moments.
How
There
did
were
you push
moments.
through?
There were a lot of moments, where I didn't feel like I could, because
Mhm.
of listening to all the negativity,
Mhm.
and feeling down, not feeling the support from the people that I thought would support me, but
Like who?
when I started seeing that those people were not supporting me, that's when it started hitting me.
With
Um,
these people like
and
your close family? Was it just friends?
my peers,
Okay.
uh, people that I knew in the industry, um,
And
that
how did you get
I
over
had
that?
to leave. I had to step out of that. I was so like, well, these guys are gonna support me. And they were the first ones to say, you're not going to do it, you know, stick to what you know.
Mhm.
And so I had to literally get a U-Haul truck, pack my things. I'm sorry, guys.
That's a vieja. That's a wife.
And so I literally had to grab all my things, pack up and go. Get out of Dodge. And I literally like drove hundreds of miles to come back to California and regroup. I had to regroup.
Would you recommend that, to somebody else?
Absolutely. I would
That's a great
recommend, people to regroup, people to, I would recommend everybody to go somewhere where they can think of things by themselves
Mm.
and analyze everything that they have. I mean, when you work so hard, you know what your capabilities are. If all the things that you've accomplished, who you are. You
Mhm.
have to go somewhere where you can regroup and be like, "Yo, I need to do this." Talk to yourself. When you
Mhm.
talk to yourself, you're having that self conversation. It's like when you got to talk to God. When you talk to God, God's going to give you those, he's going to give you the answers.
Right.
Yeah.
All you got to do is ask, have that connection, and I had to do that. I had to do that, and it took me a few months, before I was able to get back up on my feet. But I got back up on my feet 10 times stronger.
Hey, so you're talking about the moment, me being the chismosa that I am in music, you're talking about the moment when you got let go from Cumbia Kings, right? When you
Right?
drove back to California because your ass got let go. They were
Yeah,
like, "Hey, dude, you're fired."
I just got fired.
How was that? I feel like you could have easily ended it there. You could have been like, "Well,
I was
damn."
angry. I was very angry. I was very hurt because, um, I, you know, I never expected to be fired from a group that I love so much. Although when I did hear those words come out, of AB's mouth, um, it was like being hit with a ton of bricks.
So
And
you weren't expecting to get fired.
well, I was not expecting that, because
Mhm.
within a group, there's always things that are going to happen. There's always going to be, little hiccups here and there, moments mistakes that you make. We're human beings.
Mhm.
Nobody's perfect. And I had contributed a lot into the group. I was basically writing a lot of the English records for them, and I guess in a way, even some of the guys saw me as a leader. um,
Mhm.
within the group because they confided in me, they trusted in me in a lot of things, and there was a situation where I stood up for my friends, I stood up for my brothers, I stood up for my family when they were like, "Screw them, all we need is you right now."
Oh, dang.
I
Mm.
remember saying, "No, I can't do that to my brothers. Like, we're a group. How
Mhm.
you just need me and do away with these guys? There's no way. How would I look if I was just walking away, and leaving them behind? No, I couldn't have done that.
You
And
know,
Mhm.
having been a CEO and having been like managing people, people should never be surprised
right,
about being let go. Never. That's like the worst thing
yeah,
that who runs a organization. Nobody should ever be surprised.
Or
Especially
afraid.
somebody that puts so much blood, sweat, tears, like I said, into you. That we were thought as the leader, kind of, within the group sometimes. Um,
mhm,
to have that person, from one day to the next, just like what
Yeah.
that
That's
right,
that should never happen.
but I think it's really good that you took it in. You were surprised, you were shocked, but you didn't let your team go. So that also shows me there was issues that follow for many years from that family,
absolutely,
way back when.
Hmm.
And
yeah,
she's heard,
absolutely.
there's so much that
Yeah.
has been. It's not the perfect family that everyone can essentially think that
You know,
was.
I think Eric said a good point. He said sometimes things happen, right, for a reason, and that's probably the way it needed to happen for me in order for me to move on to the next chapter in my life, to move on and do something brand new. And like I was saying earlier, I had to literally get out of Dodge, rent a U-Haul truck, put all my things in this U-Haul truck, and drive hundreds of miles back to California
Wow.
and regroup and find myself all over again and say, what's my next move? What's the next chapter in my life? What am I going to do now to pick myself up from this fall? Which I can tell you guys, it made me a lot stronger mentally,
Mhm.
spiritually, and physically. Like, it made me a person that wanted to succeed and prove a point, not just to them but to myself. Like, I can do this, I know I can. And sometimes these kinds of things, these unexpected turns, have to happen in your life in order for you to become stronger and better and wiser. And I feel that was a necessity for what was to come. It was like just God telling me, like, son, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna be fine. I know that this is a total unexpected turn for you, but trust me, what's coming is way better than what you even can imagine, you know so at least I had that sense of peace. I had that peace of mind because when I came back home, my family supported me. They didn't, say like, yeah, 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 ya
You tried it once, let it go.
like, oh, yeah, 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 te dije. Like, they're not, they didn't say that, you
Okay,
know.
cool. That's
So
amazing to have that support
Yeah.
from your family. What did you do next? What was your next move? You got let go. You went through some emotions. I definitely think everything that we've been getting to know from Frankie J is always been you kept your vision and your head high. You kept
You're always
that
living in
tunnel
the
vision.
future, living in the next
so
step.
check this out. What I did next, on my way back to California, I stopped at a friend of mine's house
Mhm.
who
Where?
later became my manager.
Okay.
So within the process of me driving back to California, I had already worked on a few songs, and I had already written. I had wrote and produced a couple of records, um, and I was on my way listening, on the CD, listening to the songs. And I stopped in Houston, and I visited a very good friend of mine named Charles Chavez, who later became my manager. As a matter of fact, he was the one that connected me to the group, the Cumbia Kings.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
It's like paying it forward. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
hey, look, so you made this connection. I'm going back. Before I get home, I'm gonna stop by your house and I'm gonna ask you to be my manager because I know that you and I can be a team. So that's
That's awesome.
exactly what I did. So as soon as I went, got all my things and started heading home to California. I stopped at his house. He agreed to work with me, and
Mhm.
I showed him the records, and he goes, "These records are going to get you your solo deal." And I said, "I know that. That's why I came to you, because
Amazing.
he was already connected to the industry." So
Mhm.
it was a
It was
great
like
meeting.
the universe was working in your
It was
favor at
working
every step.
already. It was working already on in my favor. So when I had the meeting with him, I remember sitting in his living room listening to the records, and he was like, "These records are ridiculous. I got an
In a good
idea."
way or in a bad way?
Look at
So
his
that-
face.
I know, right?
And so then when that happened, everything was amazing, right? So then, all right, we my wife and I picked up and took off again, headed all the way home. And within a couple of months, no, well, not even a couple of months, within a few, maybe a week or two, um, come to find out, my record started playing in
Everywhere.
a few cities in the United States, and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. So
Wow.
within a couple of months was when I got signed to a major label, and the rest is history. It was already, like you said, the universe was already working in my favor.
But it had a lot to do with what your mindset was doing.
Mhm.
You were
Absolutely.
already working ahead of time. I mean, you're telling
Mhm.
me that the moment you got let go from the Cumbia Kings, you had already produced CDs. You were already
He
working ahead of the
he
game.
on his way back to the
He was
he's
like,
like, on the road, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna stop by,
Like,
look at
ain't nobody gonna fire me.
my."
dude, quick question. So you were involved with the Quintanillas, and we already know there's tons of drama behind them. There's like so
Mm.
many people see them in so many different aspects. What was it like? Obviously, I'm assuming you had a good relationship with them after the fact because you grew
Yeah.
big. You grew big, and you did the, Si
Yeah,
una
the
vez with Playing Skills, which is
right.
one of Selena's songs, which makes me believe there was still some sort of relationship with them. You didn't close doors, burn bridges.
No, not at all. Look, I still believe in forgiveness. I still believe in second chances. I've never, I don't hold any resentment. I don't hold any, como dicen en español, rencor. No guardo rencor en contra de
Good.
lo que pasó a mí con ellos. O sea, para mí ellos todavía siguen siendo una
Do you
familia
think he closes
que
doors
todo el
when you
mundo
do that,
respeta,
Frankie?
you know?
Do you
I don't,
close doors? Do you
I
close
don't,
doors?
I mean, I'm not, how do I say it, man?
You're not a closed door or a door closer.
No, I'm not. I'm not the kind of person like
And I
I'm
think
the
a lot
kind of
of Latinos are. I think a lot of
Mm,
Latinos close doors.
person,
So I think
and
I think
that's
it's
the thing. I'm the kind
important.
of person
Yeah.
that if you do something wrong to me, I forgive you. I'm not going to hold it against you,
mhm,
and I'm not going to hold resentment towards you. That's for you and God to deal with. I'm going to always try to live in peace and have peace of mind so I can go to sleep at night. And
mhm,
I'm not going to hold any I'm not going to retaliate. I'm not going to do anything bad to hurt you, hurt your family, or do anything stupid. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing in my life and look forward and be able to continue doing what I'm doing for my family. Um, so, with that said, I still have a relationship um, with everybody, and I don't talk to them every day, or it's once in a blue moon. But if I ever see them out somewhere in the street, or at a industry party,
Right.
or at an
mhm,
award show or whatever, I'll say hello, and I'll extend my hand and shake your hand and say hello. How's everything? How's your family? How's everybody doing?
mhm.
But that's it. That's it. As far as a working relationship, um, if it does happen, cool, and if it doesn't, I'm fine with it. Now, going back to your question about Una Vez is a song that always stayed in my heart, because I always used to sing that song, uh, with DJ Kane in the Cumbia
Mhm.
Kings, and it was my favorite part of the show. It's when
Mhm.
that song would come on. I remember singing that song, just, oh my gosh, man, just, with so much heart and so much emotion and so much feeling. I would sing my lungs out, and that those moments never left my mind. Fast forward, 10, 12 years later, that song came to mind and I wanted to remake it. And so I did. I
Hmm.
remade, but it wasn't first with Playing Skills.
No?
I remade that song first with Happy Perez. Happy P, which is the producer of Obsession, Sugar Sugar, and a few other of my hits. And this was
I
when I
think
was
Sugar has
trying.
168 million views on
Sugar,
YouTube.
sugar.
It's like
Mm.
It's an incredible thing, and
amazing.
um, when I got signed to Universal Latino, that was one of the songs that I showed to the label.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, they did not like it. They said no. It's not. It's not. You know, yeah, you sing
Marketable.
great, but it's not suitable for what you're doing. So it ended up just staying on the shelf for a few years,
Until
and
it did
then
not.
that's when I decided to revamp it, and you know
I'm gonna say that's
it
the
came out
universe
with
again, because who knows if you
that's
would have put it out
universal
then.
origin,
That's like,
right?
man, you got some special
See, a lot
powers,
of
Frankie
people don't
J.
hear these stories. These are stories. When people say that it's not going to work, don't listen to that. You gotta keep fighting for what you believe in and keep doing what you're doing. Later on, it came out and it became a hit. It became another hit. It was a top 20 or
Connections.
top 50 record on Billboard, on Latin Billboard,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and which was featuring Wisin from Wisin y Yandel. It was featuring Becky G,
Becky
uh,
G. Out.
featuring
Yep.
Leslie Grace on the Spanish side, and also featuring Cap G on the English side.
Mhm.
So it got me collaborations with some great people. And again, it's another story of triumph, because they said it wouldn't work, and it worked. Got to
It
keep going.
definitely worked.
Yeah,
That's
and we,
still one of my
and
favorite
Latinos, we
ones.
got a lot of people throwing us shade or telling us we can't do it, or like, it's just part of the culture. Again, it's
Yeah,
just fresh to be able to see it, hear it from the horse's mouth, somebody who actually did it. You
There's
know
a
what I
lot we
mean?
took out from today's podcast, Frankie, and I am beyond blessed that you're sharing this stuff, because I think a
Mhm.
lot of the times growing up Latino here in the United States, whether you're Salvadorian, whether you're Puerto Rican, whether you're Mexican, it doesn't matter. Just in fact, being a Latino, there's not much to look up to besides, a lot of the things that are happening, but they're happening in Mexico. And you don't see yourself like, well, Salma Hayek is doing amazing, but she I'm so far from Salma Hayek, and having someone living in the United States, you think of, Eugenio Derbez. He's
Mhm.
amazing at what he does, but then you're like, oh, but he's
love
in
that guy.
Mexico. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah,
you come into United States. Who do we have that we can look up to that we can be like, well, you know what? This person did it.
Mhm.
Why can't I? And there's so many great voices out there. Thank God social media exists, because now you're able to hear a ton of
These
voices.
stories, yeah.
People are just putting their stuff out there. They're not afraid anymore to show. But I do believe that they do need that guidance. They need to hear it from
right.
someone that's been through it,
Yeah, somebody
to
who's
be
been through
like,
it.
okay,
Mhm.
well, if someone slaps me around and says, you're not going to be good, what do I do with that? I think a lot of the times we don't have that background. We don't have that to look up for. And sharing with this podcast and having you on board and telling us, I went through this. I got fired. I did this. I
Mhm.
did that. This is how I grew up. This is how I came to the US. You can identify with so many US
Absolutely.
Latinos.
Mhm.
And that's
Yes.
the goal, to know
Yes.
that if
Yes.
Frankie J was able to do this, to make it happen, I mean, you broke so many barreras, like it
Yeah,
took you to a whole nother level. You were the first Mexican artist to actually be in national TV. MTV was like really hitting you there. And it was like,
Mexican Ursher.
he was like the Mexican Ursher. Though they said the Mexican's not going to be able to sing R&B, what
Mhm.
did Frankie J do? He sang R&B.
Boom.
He sang mariachi. He did
Boom.
freestyle.
Boom.
Everything that was thrown at you and was told you were not going to be able to do, you did.
You have to believe in yourself. Ultimately, that's the thing that you have to do within yourself. You have to believe in your craft, believe in your art, believe that you can accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. just, keep this in mind. The world will go against you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't comply with it. So, what are the statistics in Latinos that we're, a lot of us are, don't have careers or don't have the enough, how do you say it, finances to keep
Education and income, yeah.
education and income, to
Mm-hmm.
build careers. Those are just stats of, those are just things that are put out there in the world. It doesn't mean that you have to pay attention to them. It doesn't mean that just by you reading that somewhere or hearing that from someone, that automatically puts you in that box. That's what they want to do. They want to box us up. You got to get out of that box.
Box.
Here's a cardboard box, rip, and jump out into the world and say, nah,
Like
this
Jack in
is
the
not
Box.
happening with me. This is not what
Playing
I wasn't born to be boxed in and be a statistic of whoever made up those numbers. You
Mm-hmm.
have to go out there and just work. Work until you get to where you need to be. You ever seen that picture of there's two people that are in I think they're underground and they're like mining or something, and they
Mhm.
both have these things where they're
Picks.
carving the ground, right? They're carving
Mm-hmm.
and there's a picture of there's a man that either that still keeps that he's still carving, and there's another man that gave up.
Mhm.
And in
Mm-hmm.
between those pictures, there's the pot of gold of the man that gave up. And then there's that guy that's still going and he's trying to get to that pot of gold and he's going and he's still working. But the guy that gave up doesn't realize that he's got only this little much to carve the wall and he gets the
Oh,
pot of gold and he gave up. So you have to be that man that just keeps carving, working until you get to that freaking pot of gold. Whatever that pot of gold
Yeah.
is,
for
whatever it
you.
is,
Yeah.
it could be building your career, it could be making a movie, it could be, getting that job, that interview that you always wanted to get that position and that office that you always wanted. Whatever it is, you just have to continue believing in yourself and work hard. That's what we're here for. That's one thing that that my mom and my dad told me. Like, whatever it is that you want to do, just work hard at it, and that's it.
And that's exactly what you
Mhm.
did.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think we could have ended this any better way, any powerful words. I definitely think there's so much to learn from each
Yeah, I
other.
learned
There's
so much today. I mean,
there's just amazing stuff, and
yeah.
thank you for sharing a lot of the stuff that otherwise we might not have known of how Frankie J was able to build himself, was able to maintain himself. And the fact that you're still so reachable, you're so humble, the fact that you don't shut down just because you might have thought, okay, well, I made it. I made my first million. I made my first platinum album. The fact that you're still who you are is also amazing.
Mhm.
I really think
Yes.
that a lot of people forget where they came from once they
Another
hit
thing.
that, and ooh, that's
Mhm.
a whole nother story.
There's several keys to success. It's not just one. I think humbleness is one of them. Remain humble, man. Always remember where you came from. Never forget where you came from. Always remember your humble beginnings, and that will keep opening doors, to you. You'll keep becoming successful in everything. You have to remember that no matter what, you're always even now. You're gonna go through the hardships. You're still gonna go through some, crazy moments where people are still gonna, you know, doubt you.
Mm,
That's
Mhm.
always going to be. You're always going to face that challenge. It's about overcoming that challenge and how you overcome it and how you appreciate it when you overcome it and you still remember where you came from and how it all began, how it all started. And I think that's one of the keys to success is your humbleness, being real to yourself, being real to the people. And
mhm.
that
Dude, you gotta know Latinos, you can't be fake with them because
I'm
they
gonna.
can smell
oh,
fake.
they
Can
will
I
know
can I
when
can
you're
I
fake.
tell you something here though? Can I tell you? Because
Mhm.
I'm a tech founder here in Silicon Valley, right? And I'm pitching all of these big. It's mostly white men, older white men, and we have like really important people on my board, and they tell me, Eric, you're too humble. Your culture is
Mhm.
too humble. And as I'm walking into the like, it just it's a like because that's what we're taught is like be humble. But these guys are billionaires. You
Yeah.
know, like mega people. And
Yeah.
they're saying, don't be so humble. And so I think that's something that we need to grapple with, you know, as a culture too. At what point are you
Humble, and
humble?
when are
Because
you not?
look, if I'm going to go,
The
you know,
word bull
it's
is on
me,
humble.
you
The
know, so
word the word bull is on humble. Be a bull, but stay humble.
mm,
That's a
okay,
good one.
like that. Ooh,
Be a
You gotta work,
bull.
boom.
that's just the way it is. You got to work hard, but also it doesn't mean that you have to be this guy that or girl that allows everybody to walk over you. Be humble, but be a bull,
Yep.
And state what you like, what you know what you've done, right? Because
right?
you've done so much in your career. I mean, changed the course of music potentially. You
Mhm.
know, you've done some huge things, but you're still humble. That I think
I
that's
I
what you
I
mean.
I think you have to, when I forgot who it was that I was talking to the other day. Um, they've said you've done this, you've done that, but not a lot of people talk about it. You
Mhm.
gotta talk about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
You
yes,
gotta tell people the things that you've done, and it's not like in any way, shape, or form being egotistic. You're just
Mhm.
stating facts.
facts.
If
And if it
you feel
happens
that you've
and
done
if
your
it happens
hard
to
work,
be the best song
to
ever,
if
hey, this is the best song ever. Let me.
if you feel that you've done such a hard work to help somebody, to have that door open for them, then say it. There's
Amen.
there's nothing wrong by stating facts. At the end of the day, you have to let people know what you've done. That's
Mhm,
how you will, let those who don't know about you understand where you come from and
Mhm.
that you've accomplished in your life. You're not being egotistic about it. You're not gonna wait till somebody talks about you.
mhm,
Mhm.
I think it's always good when you let the world know the things that you've done. It's a beautiful thing because it's accomplishments that God has allowed you to accomplish through your hard work. So why not tell the world about it? You know?
amen.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think it's a beautiful way of celebrating your accomplishments, by telling the world what you've done. Um, and it's not, like I said, in any way, shape, or form, being or saying that you're above people
They're facts.
Or a
or
show off.
egotistic or a show off. You're
Mhm.
basically telling people, "Hey, look, this is what I've done.
I
Mhm.
work my ass off,
Open
and
doors
this
for
is what
And
I've
this
you."
is what it looks like.
You know, and this
Yeah.
is, yeah, exactly. This is what it looks like.
This is what it look like. Well, speaking about what it looks like, we know you're about to release tons of more music. I'm super excited. I can't wait. Talk about your new album release. It's another R&B.
Yeah,
I just can't wait. Dive into
Mhm,
that because,
mhm.
dude, Frankie J may have a 21-year
Yes.
career, but he is still putting things out there left and right.
Yeah,
well, I
well,
gotta tell you guys, I'm
just
super excited. This album is called Back to Us, going back to the basics, going back to how it all began for me. And, I'm also not forgetting about my Mexican heritage, my Mexican roots, because I'm throwing in the Spanish on a lot of these records that I'm
Nice.
recording in the form of R&B. I
nice.
have some really, really cool features on board this album, some that I'm still working on, some that are already there. Um, and there's some beautiful ballads in there. There's some beautiful mid tempos, one or
Mm.
two as they say, club bangers.
Club
Um,
bangers, club
and,
hits.
and I'm super, super excited about this particular thing that, to me, it's of sentimental value because my son is actually a producer and a co-producer on a
Wow.
record that I'm putting together on this album. As it is the first single, he produced it. It's a song called "With You," which features Rasby from the R&B group B2K,
It's okay.
and of course Mr. Paul Wall himself, the multi-platinum Houston rapper, very
Mhm.
good friend. And I co-wrote the record with Rasby and a friend of ours named John Glenn out of Houston, Texas, and my son produced it.
That's amazing.
So
Oh,
It's
you must be
really,
so
really
proud.
awesome to see. Yeah, and he's
Wow.
20 years old, already doing some
Wow.
production for his dad, and he's been doing it for a couple of years already. But this album has some really, really nice surprises, and I don't want to spoil the surprises, but there's some really cool
Yeah.
artists
I
that
was
are
like,
coming
he's
forward.
well, he's gonna tell
I was
me.
gonna, I was, you know what I was gonna ask is like, what emotions went into that? Can you tell some of the emotions that went into, if you can't tell us like more than that?
Oh man,
Cry. He
oh
fucking
yeah,
cried.
almost like I felt like crying just watching this kid work because his it's incredible how much he knows already on the production side and how well he is intact with the music of today.
Mhm.
And he loves Drake, loves all the music that is out there right now on the radio with on the hip hop side and all the hits that are playing right now. But I always tell him, I said, it's good to listen to that, but check this out. Let me show you some of these other records and some of these other
Mhm.
artists that I think you need to listen to in order for you
'Cause
to
they're all
kind of
stealing from them anyway.
of the production that you're doing now. And I always tell them, I said, one thing that's really important to keep your music, to stand the test of time is to add real instrumentation, a
Yep.
guitar, a piano, a bass, some brass, something that's going to give it life and that's never going to go out of style. And he started, you know, I think he was a little intrigued with what I was telling him, so he kept on asking questions about it.
Mm.
And so now every time that he works on something, he'll come to me and he'll be like, "Dad, what do you think of this? Or do you think it needs this? Do you think it needs that?" And then I'll give him my 2 cents, and then he'll go on and finish whatever he's doing. But it's amazing to see your child,
Mm.
work with you and
That's
and
awesome.
With
be
such
a
talent
part of
too.
this album. So
That's
I'm excited.
amazing. We're excited for
Super, super
you. I
cool.
definitely think you do need to give us a little pedacito of "With You,"
Woo!
just so we
Let
can.
me see. I can give you guys. I'll probably give you the my Spanish verse. It says, cuando yo te conocí, yo me enamoré de ti, ese cuerpo espectacular. Al verte caminar, me paraste el corazón y me hiciste sentir algo que no te puedo describir, que con el tiempo fue creciendo más profundo, fuera de este mundo, me pasó en un segundo, y la verdad me dejaste sin hablar, no me pude concentrar.
Oh!
Just a
There
little piece
you
of the song.
Wow. Wow.
That
Yeah.
is awesome. So when are we set to hear this out and about? When is the album coming out?
The whole album is due out in the summertime. I'm trying to finish it as soon as I can, so maybe it could be out during the springtime. But as of now, it's due out in the summer. I don't have an exact date, uh,
Mhm.
Mm.
but the title is Back to Us. The first single is With You, featuring Rasby from B2K, Paul Wall. You can already hear that on all the digital platforms out there.
Okay.
You can watch the video on my YouTube channel, which is The Real Frankie J1. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, this is just the beginning of what you guys are going to hear.
And we'll
Uh,
link that all that we'll link all of that here so people can
okay,
Yes.
check
cool.
it out.
They'll
Yeah,
be able to check it
let them
out
know
when
to follow me on all the social medias and all that.
we will be able. Well, we're very happy. We're very glad that you were able to join us today. I know we went a little bit overboard from what we had initially expected, but there was just so much to talk about,
So
and
much
It's always
juice.
there's
fun.
just so much more that we can do and dive into. But I hope that for those of you that are listening to the podcast, one, that you're liking the podcast, two, that you've subscribed to the podcast, you've shared the podcast, because there's so much to learn from other Latinos just like you. And with that being
Yes.
said, Frankie, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And I do wish you the best. And I hope that we get to hear more of your music to come, because we need more people like you in this music industry for sure.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Eric, for the love, for the support, for your time. And I hope that we can inspire more Latinos out there that are listening to us, are watching us right now. I would like to tell them to continue doing what they're doing, to keep striving for their dreams and to accomplish their goals, and to stay positive, to stay focused, and surround yourself with like-minded people, because those are the people that are going to want to see you, succeed, and they're going to want to see you accomplish your goals. So thank you so much for the love. God bless you guys, and stay tuned for the new music.
Thanks for joining us today. We are the Latino Nation podcast presented by Latin Live. I'm your host, Carmen Ramirez, joined by my co-host and founder of Latin Live, Eric Osuna, produced by yours truly, and our second engineer and editor is Francisco Patch Fuentes. Our tech director is Jose Moreno. Our graphic guru is Laura Tinoco. And we're executive produced by Mr. Eric Farber himself. Latino Nation is produced by Hustle and Flow Productions.